Greetings, YouTubians, and welcome back to Wayne Sharp World, where we have another episode brought to you by DLT Trading. Look them up for all of your knife and EDC needs. And today we're taking a look at a knife that really kind of came out of left field for me. Was not expecting to like this knife as much as I do. That is none other than the Hogue Sig K320 Nitron. Now, before I go any further into this review, I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in today. If you like what you see, please do me a huge favor. Smash that subscribe button, follow along, and I will continue to bring you the content. Now, let's take a look at some overall specs on this knife right here. We have an overall length of 8 inches with a blade length coming in at 3.5 inches, a cutting edge right around that same 3.5 inch mark with a blade width of 1.39 inches and a blade thickness coming in at 0.12 inches. Blade material is S30V steel, as well as a very nice, very attractive drop point style blade designed from a very renowned maker who we will get to here in just a second. A nice flat grind with a handle length coming in at 4.5 inches and a handle thickness coming in at 0.53 inches. We have a handle width of 1.2 inches and handle material of glass fiber reinforced polymer, which is really just a long group of words for plastic. But I've got to say, I don't hate this plastic nearly as much as I do other plastic handles. We'll talk about that more when we get to the handle category. Locking mechanism of Able Lock, which is basically Hogue's version of the Axis style lock. We have a user of right or left hand, tip up or tip down. So pick your poison. You can carry this guy however you would like. We have a weight coming in at 4.18 ounces and a price of $127.46. Not too bad at all. I'll give a little more insight to that as we go on through the review. This knife was designed by Alan Elishewitz. If you guys have not heard of him, you really should. A very renowned maker, one of the best in the business in my opinion. As with all Hogues, this guy here is made in the USA. Always love saying that during a review. And there's many versions of this knife. You have a lot of options. There's a drop point blade like you see here. There's a Tonto blade. There are serrated versions. You have the Able Lock option as well as an automatic option. And you also have handle colors coming in at black, gray, and coyote tan, I believe are the 3 options. So all across the board, pick your poison, whatever fits your fancy. They probably have it. And let's get into some size comparisons here. And really nice size knife, just a really great size in general, comparing it with the large Benchmade Griptilian, as well as the Giant Mouse Ace Grand. As you can see, nice comparison sizes here in terms of actual handle and even blade. The blade and overall length of this knife is really right in between these two of the large Griptilian and Ace Grand. Maybe slightly more comparable to the Grand in blade shape, a little, and then handle, maybe the large Griptilian, but again, right, a mashup kind of in the middle. I will say, though, the cutting performance of this guy outperforms both of these two. Very impressive cutting performance coming out of this guy, especially when we get to the edge reading, because you're going to be really surprised when I give you that edge reading after what I just said. And we also have some budget options. Now, here we have the Civivi Brazen as well as the Civivi Riffle. And one thing that is very interesting and very attractive with this knife here is the price point. At that $127 mark, it's obviously not a budget knife, but a lot of people that own Civivis or CJRBs or other budget knives under the $100 category, they might really look at this as that next step up. That nice, more expensive knife they want to add to the collection or into their rotation of everyday carry. This is a very good option. Very good option. So, and as you can see too, it's in line with size, and there's so many things that make it very attractive to people, the aesthetics especially. But if you have CVVs or you have those $50 to $75 knives and you want to step up and spend a little more, this is just an excellent option right here. Now, going into the blade, what you have here is one of those stunning Alan Elishewitz drop point designs. If you guys don't know who Alan Elishewitz is, you should do a little research on him. He is a fantastic designer. His Instagram is really great. He gives a lot of kind of instructional and more insightful videos on what he does to design and build a knife. I love watching them. Really informative, and just seems to be a pretty good guy all around. And what you get with his designs are just really nice high grinds, attractive swedges, and really nice flowing lines in general. When you combine the aesthetics of an Alan Elishawitz's design with that Hogue edge, who easily have some of the best razor-sharp edges in the industry, that's definitely a recipe for success, and that's exactly what you have here. Now, the edge itself, as I was saying, it's not razor sharp. It is razor sharp, but the calipers don't show it. It's coming in at 25 thousandths behind the edge. So yes, you hear 25 thousandths and you think, wow, that is very, very average at best. But Hogue's edges are next level, guys. If you haven't experienced a Hogue blade, you really should check one out, whether it's this or something else. They have absolutely phenomenal edges. That has a higher grind profile. They're hand honed, and this blade here cuts more like it would read 14 to 15 thousandths behind the edge. Very, very impressive cutting performance. Really good slicer. This knife is absolutely a slicer, and the cutting performance is through the roof with it. And people here, S30V, you guys don't shy away from S30V steel. It's still a fantastic steel. There's M390, 20CV, S35, S45. All these other steels have come out, and people have kind of forgotten about S30V, but it is a fantastic steel. Sharpens pretty easily, holds a good edge, gets razor sharp, hair whittling sharp. I have no issue with S30V whatsoever. Very happy to see it on this knife here. So no issue there. Now, as for this deployment hole, we're going to talk more about it when we get to action, but I was very, very skeptical about this. It just looked too small, looked like it wouldn't work for thumb deployment, and it looked like it was going to give me some fits for middle finger deployment, and I was wrong. I was very, very wrong. We will talk more about that here in just a second. But going into the handle and ergos on this guy, the ergos are some of the best ergos I've ever felt on a knife, and I 100% seriously mean that. I absolutely love this finger choil, and we're going to do one more little comparison here to the knife. If there was one knife in the entire knife industry I would compare this to, and it's a really good comparison, and yes, there will be a battle of the blades coming between these two. How did I do that? The Spyderco Shaman. It is so similar to the Shaman in so many ways, in overall length. The Shaman is slightly longer, but still very comparable. The ergos are almost a spinning image of each other. Cutting geometry and blade shape is somewhat similar. They both have the deployment holes. These two knives, if you don't want to spend $200+ on a Shaman, look no further than this guy right here. I'm telling you, very, very close in resemblance and performance and feel. Obviously, aesthetics are a little different when you compare the characteristics of a Spyderco to a Sit or to a Hogue, but very, very good comparison here. And yes, there is a battle of the blades coming. But you guys know how much I love the ergos on the Shaman. I absolutely love the ergos on this K320 just as much, if not a little more. I'm gonna be doing some very extensive carrying of both of these knives here, and you'll have my decision on the ergos in the battle of the blades. But just fantastic ergos. And when we get to this polymer handle, this is where this was the turning point for me in this knife, because that was one of the two things between the polymer handle and this cutout. I thought I was going to go either way. I thought I could love it. I thought I could hate it. I really like these handles. They don't have, when I scratch it with my nail, it doesn't feel, it has a similar feel to a lot of the plastic handles on the market right now, but it does definitely feel more solid. It feels solid in hand. There's really very little flex in this. There's a little, I'm trying to hold it still as I shake this. Very little flex. very little, not enough to even bother me. And usually the flex can really get to me, but it's such a solid handle. It has the metal liners in there, so it has that extra strength. Really, really like this. I wouldn't call it stippling, but the texturizing on them is very, very good. And they even went a step further. And as you can see, when I kind of put this in the light, you see this area right here, guys? You see that? They kind of, I wouldn't call it sanded. Maybe they did sand it. They did something. It may have just been with like kind of a hot press. They kind of killed the traction in that area for clip placement. So it's not going to completely tear your jeans up going in and out of your jeans or any pants in general that you're wearing. Now, some people may still want to sand this down a little more because there is still a little texture, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. I don't think it's going to, I'm not going to sand this one down. I just don't need to. It goes in and out of the pocket fine. Really love the clip on this guy in general. It's not recessed or anything, but you have the room. You have the room and it works. It doesn't get caught up on your hem or anything. It's kind of just an attractive clip in general too. I like what they did here, kind of giving you these almost looks like a cheese grater, only they're obviously not sharp, but it gives you that texture to where if you go reach in your pocket, you can use that to help pull the knife out. Really good idea without killing your fingers. This is not too abrasive, so it works fine. And I really like that American flag on the clip. I think that's awesome. Looks good. The white on the black, you see it, you notice it. It's American made, and there's nothing wrong with putting that on there, in my opinion. It's not too loud either. Doesn't take up the whole clip. Nice and simple, gets the point across. So, like the clip, it's not recessed, but again, you guys, for $127.46, with the quality and action and materials you're getting, especially with the steel, they had to cut corners somewhere, so I'm fine with that. That doesn't bother me one bit. Again, feels so good in hand, feels so solid. I don't mind the fact that they're polymer handles. One of the very, very few knives that I don't mind that with. The only other one that comes to mind for me is the Giant Mouse Ace Iona. Those are the only two handles I think I've ever felt that really pass the polymer handle test on whether or not I like the way they feel. So there may be one other one, but those are the only two that really come to mind. This one, though, definitely takes the cake in that. Just excellent ergos. And when you get up here to all this clip placements, that's something I don't really like. Obviously, you have to have them down here because having it down here, having a left or right carry for the clip, makes this knife completely ambidextrous. So it's perfect for lefties. It's perfect for righties. That's a beautiful thing. It's also going to help this knife sell very well. But up here at the top for the tip down carry, I just don't think they need that. I also kind of wish they would be blackened instead of like this brassy gold look. It's kind of a nice pop, but when you go look at it, you just notice that there's screw holes. So it's not really aesthetically attractive, and especially considering that very few people carry knives tip down. I mean, who does that? And it's not a pick or a knock on anyone. As a matter of fact, if you carry your knife tip down, please let me know why. Is there a benefit? Why do you prefer that? Because when I first got into knives, I did carry a couple tip down because I just didn't know any better. But the moment I switched to tip up carry, it's so much easier to deploy the blade coming right out of the pocket for a quicker draw. There's no going back for me. I just don't see any point in carrying a knife tip down, so I think it's a little overkill to do that up here. But let me know. I'm sure there's probably some people out there that do it. So if you do it, please comment on this video. Let me know why you do it. I'm really interested to hear that, if there's any type of real benefit or why you prefer that. So very interested to hear that. But other than that, I don't really have much to knock on this knife. It's got your lanyard hole down here, which for me, I don't really care, but I'm glad it's on there for people that like lanyards. I see a lot of people use lanyards on your knife. So, hey, you got it here. It's good to go. But overall, the biggest thing that speaks to me on this handle is perfect ergos. In all honesty, perfect ergos and very, very hand-hugging feel. There's no getting around it. Anytime it's got that choil, and still got a lot of sharpening edge to go with it. Got a lot of cutting room there. Just a really, really well designed knife. Now going into the action, the action is absolutely fantastic. I'm getting to the point to where I think Hogue does have the best Axis style lock in the entire industry with this Able lock for a few reasons. One of the things that I think go really under the radar and doesn't get pointed out enough is the texturing Hogue puts on their lock. You see that? So let's take a look real quick at the Benchmade. So as you can see with the Benchmade, it's round. There's no real other angles. It's just a few circles that are kind of milled up to make the texturing. And it works. It does work. But on the Hogue, you have those little round kind of like half circles within the other milling that goes up on the we'll call it it's not a button, we'll call it the able knob. Yeah, able knob. On the knob, there's just a lot more different angles that are going on the lines to where when you go to put your thumb and index finger on this, it really bites it. It absolutely, it's very tacky and it bites it, and it is a better grip in my opinion. It just feels better. Your fingers aren't sliding, and it makes it very easy to deploy this blade. And as you can see, very, very buttery smooth action. You can middle finger flick this, and guys, look at this. You can thumb flick it like a breeze. I cannot believe how well this cutout works. It looks like it would just be an awkward disaster, but it's really, really not. It just works, and it still doesn't make a lot of sense to me how well it works, but it just does. So there's some things, guys, you just don't question if it works, and this is one of them. So fantastic action on deployment and close. And this is pretty close to out of the box. I've had this one for a couple days, and the moment I took it out of the box, it was this smooth. I really couldn't be much happier with the action on this guy. Doesn't need any oil, doesn't need a cleaning. Just really, really well done job, and executed to as good as you can execute it, I think. I don't really have any issues with it whatsoever. The issues I thought I'd have with it are not issues. So overall thoughts, I wasn't expecting this, but I absolutely love it. This is a knife that isn't going anywhere. It's going to be around, and it is 100%, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very strong Knife of the Year contender for me. Was not expecting to say that. Very, very surprised by this. Very pleasantly surprised by this. This has absolutely turned me on to Hogue. I have another Hogue coming up for you guys later this week that I'm very excited to put on the table and review for you guys. My advice on this, get them while you can. I don't know how big the quantities are. I know DLT has some in stock. I would definitely check DLT first. It's linked below. Just an excellent knife. If you don't like the Able Lock, you got the automatic option. But I gotta say, this Able Lock is butter. It is absolute butter. Love, love, love this knife. Let me know what you guys think. If you experience one, do you love it as much as I do? I want to know. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And until the next one, I'm out.